Alright, how's it going? My name's Colin and this is the first video on my channel called Left of Right. Why have I called it Left of Right? Well, it's kind of what I represent. I'm what you'd say is I'm a fiscally conservative person. However, I'm also got a bit of a social conscience. So basically, I don't really fit in the left or the right wing of politics, and hence why I wanted to call my channel something that kind of summed that up. So I thought I'd kick things off with, a post-mortem of Rishi Sunak's spring statement speech. So, without further ado, let's get cracking.
Right, we now come to the spring statement. I now call the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak.
Mr. Speaker, as I stand here, men, women and children are huddled in basements across Ukraine seeking protection. Soldiers and citizens alike have taken up.
First things first, check out Boris there. Man, look at him. Look at him grinning like a cat while Rishi Sunak is talking about Ukraine. You think now of all times would be the time that Boris might want to actually be, serious about his job. Then on the other side you have the mistress of darkness herself, Empress Palpatine, who's probably thinking, "Your feeble skills are no match for the dark side." Sorry, I couldn't resist doing a crappy Palpatine impression. So let's crack on, hit ludicrous speed, and we'll get to the meat and potatoes of this.
Mr. Speaker, today's statement builds a stronger, more secure economy for the United Kingdom. We have a moral responsibility.
You've got to laugh at the completely and utterly bewildered look on Priti Patel's face there. It's like she has no idea of the meaning of the word morals, which makes complete sense. I mean, she is dead inside.
And we are imposing sanctions of unprecedented scale and scope.
And you took your time to do that, didn't you? Got to give those oligarchs plenty of time to get their money out the country.
The invasion of Ukraine presents a risk to our recovery, as it does to countries around the world. We came into this crisis with our economy growing faster than expected, with the UK having the highest growth rate in the G7 last year.
The Tories love to go on about this one. Yes, they had the highest growth rate percentage-wise last year in the G7, and that's because they experienced the biggest drop in growth during COVID.
But the OBR has said specifically, there is unusually high uncertainty around the outlook. It is too early to know the full impact of the Ukraine war on the UK economy. But their initial view, combined with high global inflation and continuing supply chain pressures, means the OBR now forecasts growth this year of 3.8%. The OBR then expect the economy to grow by 1.8% in 2023 and 2.1%, 1.8% and 1.7% in the following 3 years.
So this projection is pretty damn grim. So basically what Sunak is saying is that we're really looking at more or less flat growth for the next 3 to 4 years. Now notice the blame is being pinned on Ukraine and COVID. There's very little mention of that little thing that happened a few years back. What was it called again? Oh yeah, Brexit. It's funny how that gets glossed over.
People should know that we will stand by them as we have throughout the last 2 years.
Oh yeah, they were showing us real solidarity, weren't they? Well, we were not seeing friends and family. They were getting pished at Downing Street parties.
That's why we've announced a £9 billion plan to help around 28 million households pay around half the April increase in the energy price cap.
Yep, that plan being a £200 loan that we'll be paying back over the next 5 years.
And people should be reassured that the energy price cap will protect their energy bills between now and the autumn. But I want to help people now, so I'm announcing 3 immediate measures. First, I'm going to help motorists. Today, I can announce, for only the second time in 20 years, fuel duty will be cut. Yeah. Not by 1, not even by 2, but by 5 pence per litre. Yeah. The biggest cut to all fuel duty rates ever.
Okay, so 5p cut on fuel duty per litre. So that'll equate to about £2 per tank. That's good news for motorists. It's also good news for businesses, as well as, your public transport and things like that. However, it isn't really going to do much to help the poorest in society, who are, less likely to own cars in general. So, yeah, it's not really going to make much difference for a lot of people who are most at risk.
Second, as energy costs rise, we know that energy efficiency will make a big difference to bills. But if homeowners want to install energy-saving materials, at the moment, only some items qualify for a 5% VAT relief, and there are complex rules about who is eligible. The relief used to be more generous, but from 2019, the European Court of Justice required us to restrict its eligibility. But thanks to Brexit, we're no longer constrained by EU law. So I can announce for the next 5 years, homeowners having materials like solar panels, heat pumps or insulation installed will no longer pay 5% VAT, they will pay 0. Yeah.
Again, I don't really see how this helps the working poor or those in benefits or pensioners who have limited incomes to actually invest in heat pumps and solar panels. A 5% decrease on £8,000 heat pump or £12,000 heat pump. Yeah, I don't really see the poorest in society going to rush out and get solar panels or heat pumps. This is a cut that's basically geared towards the middle class and the upper class. Now, don't get me wrong, decarbonisation is a good thing in general for everyone concerned. However, to tackle a cost of living crisis, this is pretty weak sauce.
And Mr. Speaker, this policy highlights the deficiencies in the Northern Ireland Protocol, because we won't immediately be able to apply it to Northern Ireland. But we will be raising it with the Commission as a matter of urgency.
I'm pretty sure the people of Northern Ireland are not going to lose any sleep over not being able to get a discount on their heat pumps or their solar panels or whatever, when they've got the best trading conditions of any part of the UK.
And finally, I want to do more to help our most vulnerable households with rising costs. They need targeted support. So I am doubling the Household Support Fund to £1 billion with £500 million of new funding. Local authorities, Mr. Speaker, are best placed to help those in need in their local areas, and they will receive this funding from April.
An extra $500 million in funding isn't really going to stretch too far, is it? It's definitely not going to give the most vulnerable in society the help that they need.
Mr. Speaker, we can only afford to provide this extra support.
Is that it indeed? You've got to have a wee chuckle as well, looking at Priti Patel going, shh, like she's some sort of disapproving school teacher.
Underlying debt is expected to fall steadily from 83.5% of GDP in 2022-23 to 79.8% in 26-27. Borrowing as a percentage of GDP is 5.4% this year, 3.9% next year, then 1.9, 1.3, 1.2 and 1.1% in the following years.
Now, I really do question that math. How is it when we're going to be experiencing almost 0% growth? The only way that is close to being achievable is if we go through further cuts and further austerity.
I said it last autumn, and I say it again today. Borrowing down, debt down. Only the Conservatives can be trusted with taxpayers' money.
Are you absolutely kidding me? I wouldn't trust this mob as far as I could throw them.
So, Mr. Speaker, our response to the immediate crisis in Ukraine has been unwavering.
Can't really tell if Priti Patel's pissed off, bored, thinking about kicking puppies, boiling bunnies, or, drowning the odd immigrant in the Channel. Now, Priti might be bored, but I think Boris has just fell asleep.
To that end, we are helping families with the cost of living, creating the conditions...
Oh, there we go, he's back in the room. Is it a late night, son? Ah.
Mr. Speaker, there is now a dedicated funding source for the country's top priority, the NHS and social care, providing funding over the long term as demand grows, with every penny going straight to health and care. If it goes, then so does the funding, and that funding is needed now, especially as my right honourable friend, the Health Secretary's plans to reform healthcare will ensure every pound of taxpayers' money is well spent.
Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it.
When I said the Conservatives were the party of public services, the party of the NHS, I didn't just mean when it was easy, it is a total commitment. So it is right that the health and care levy stays, but a long-term funding solution for the NHS and social care is not incompatible with reducing taxes on working families. Over the last decade, it has been a Conservative mission to promote tax cuts for working people and simplify the system. That's why Conservative-led governments raised the income tax personal allowance from £6,500 in 2010 to the new level of £12,570. But the equivalent thresholds in national insurance, which define how much people can earn NICS-free, are still around £3,000 less. Now, the Prime Minister pledged in the 2019 election we would increase those thresholds. We made a big step towards that goal in my first budget in 2020, increasing the national insurance threshold to £9,500. Today, we take the next step. Our current plan is to increase the NICS threshold this year by £300. But I'm not going to do that, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to increase it by the full £3,000. Delivering our promise to fully equalise the NICS and income tax thresholds, and not incrementally over many years, but in one go this year. From this July, people will be able to earn £12,570 a year without paying a single penny of income tax or national insurance. That is a £6 billion personal tax cut for 30 million people across the United Kingdom. A tax cut for employees worth over £330 a year, the largest increase in a basic rate threshold ever, and the largest single personal tax cut in a decade.
So this is Sunak's big announcement. Now, there's a hell of a lot to unpack, and it is without a doubt a masterstroke of sleight of hand. With sleight of hand like this, he should actually consider becoming a magician once his political career fails, which, to be honest, after this announcement, is probably going to be fairly soon. Now, first of all, let's take a look at the individual, the level of the individual. Now, at the individual level, this is indeed a tax cut for the poorest. So if you only earn £12,570, you're probably going to be better off to the tune of £330 a year. Right, that's all well and good. The benefit is the benefit also, will taper down as we go up the income brackets, because, well, you've got the 1.25% levy, so the actual saving is going to be considerably less than £330 when compared to this current tax year. However, by the time you get up to around £31,000 per year before tax, you're probably going to either break even or you're going to be paying a little bit more in tax than the current tax year, which is absolutely fine, because that's the whole point, is to help the poorest in society and the people with the broader shoulders take on more of the tax burden. However, doesn't this actually undermine what the 1.25% levy was brought in for in the first place? By raising that cap £3,000, you're actually depriving the NHS and social care a lot of funding. So this may actually completely undermine the levy that is in place, and might even leave us in a worse situation in terms of funding the NHS and social care.
Mr. Speaker, around 70% of all workers will have their taxes cut by more than the amount they'll pay through the new levy.
So this more or less confirms what I just said. It's a cunning sleight of hand, basically, to reduce taxes for individuals, but yet still have that levy in place so that he saves face. Ultimately, the NHS and social care are going to lose out in funding because of this. Maybe to an even greater degree than the levy was actually going to boost funding in the first place.
Once again showing it is this Conservative government delivering for hard-working families and helping with the cost of living.
So that's more or less it. It's not really inspiring, is it? There's so many people within the country who are not served at all by this. If you're on universal credit, you're getting hee-haw. If you are disabled, you're getting hee-haw. And if you're a pensioner, which actually surprises me the most, considering they are the Tories' main demographic, you're actually getting worse than hee-haw, because due to the Tories not honouring the triple lock-in state pension this year, you're actually getting a real terms cut to the state pension. In addition to that, there was absolutely no mention of a windfall tax on oil companies' profits, like a lot of our European neighbours are doing. Wonder why that is? Probably because it was suggested by Labour, and you can't be seen to be following Labour's lead, obviously, because that's just politically unfeasible. And there's no increase to universal credit to help the poor and the working poor. And like I said already, the suspension to the triple lock pension is still in play. So if I was to mark this one, give this one a grade, it would have to be a C-. He does a little bit for workers. He does absolutely nothing for the working poor. Does nothing for the most vulnerable in society. It really is so tone deaf, misguided, and I honestly think any hope of Rishi Sunak being the successor to Boris Johnson has, well, completely gone out the window now. So I think we're stuck with Boris Johnson for the next 2 years. Happy days. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you liked the video, subscribe. Hopefully I'll be producing more of my meanderings about politics, both Westminster and Holyrood. See you next time.